Hi, everybody, and welcome to my class on the freezer method. I am Gwen Peterson. You probably know me as the founder of Spiritual Communities Network, but I'm also the creator of Insights and Illuminations. I teach others on how to make that soul connection and live a fuller, happier life from a more soul integrated lifestyle, if you will. What is the freezer method? It is a form of cord cutting ritual. It's a fun way to let go of someone or something that you are ready to let go of. But first, what are cords? Anytime we put our attention on someone or something, we create a connection or a cord to it. Some cords are bigger than others, depending on how much time and emotion we have invested in that thing or person. So if you've been in a long-term relationship, you probably have a pretty strong, healthy, well-built cord with that person. And what is cord cutting? Well, cord cutting is a ritual for disconnecting the attachment you have created. There are many different cord cutting rituals. Some of them you may know as burning bowls. The freezer method is this one. Some people, they like to journal on a piece of paper and flush it down the toilet. There's all different types of rituals. This one's fun because it uses your freezer, and you get pretty much the same effect with any of them, but this has always been a fun one to teach in the classes that I do. So why do a cord cutting ritual? First off, rituals make it easy to stay focused. Okay, there's some things in our lives that require us to really focus and commit to doing, whether it's starting something new or stopping something. And rituals are a time where you set aside and you are dedicated to that thing. Letting go lets you let new things in. All right. Sometimes we hold on to things, we hold on, we won't let it go. Whether it's, maybe somebody's done you wrong, so you're in a really rough spot with it. And so you just keep pointing at it, you put all your focus on it, you're in a negative place with it. But sooner or later, if you get to a place where you can let it go, what you create is a vacuum, and the universe loves a vacuum because it will fill it. So when you let something go, you're allowing new things to come in, new places, new experiences, new people. And sometimes we don't realize we've created a cord, and some cords are not for our highest good. And so cord cutting will help kind of alleviate some of those that you met somebody, bumped into them at the grocery store, you had a conversation with them, you formed a cord. Sometimes you just want to let those go. You don't need to have them if you don't need them. By cutting cords that no longer serve you, you are allowing the highest good for all involved. A lot of times, I've heard some people, they use the cord cutting in not so positive a way. And it is a positive experience because it's done with no ill will. The whole idea here is to allow the parties just to go on, live their life, do the things that they were meant to do. Only do a ritual if you intend to cut the cord. And you might think, well, yeah, why else would I do a cord cutting? I would only do it to cut a cord. And sometimes we have our best intentions at heart, and we go through a cord cutting, and the first thing we do is have a conversation with somebody, and it reignites the cord. Or you call them on the phone, or you start following them on social media. That just reconnects the cord again. So when I say only do the ritual when you intend to cut the cord, it's so that you are accomplishing that end goal, which is to move on, to let go, to let that person go, and you move forward with your life in a better way. So do not call the person, don't text them, don't follow them on social media, don't talk to them to other people. If other people bring it up, change the subject, and then later on, just do a quick cord cutting again that, you don't want, wasn't your intention to make that connection again. All right. So that just kind of gives you a nice overview of cords, cord cutting, the rituals, and it's not hard and fast. I know that there's some different practices out there that have a more structured ritual and it's very ceremonial, but essentially it's your ritual. Okay, it's how you come to it. It's where you are focused in your way and with the intentions that you have. So you can be very ceremonial about it and learn other ceremonies for cord cutting, or you can just have some fun with it and let it create what you want to create to have fun with it. Some of you have been to my full moon cord cuttings where I work with Archangel Michael. And in that class, I've talked about different ways to do the rituals. And again, rituals are just a focused time, a time where you kind of step away from all the day to day things going on in the family and you go off to yourself and you focus on the things that you are ready to let go of. So, moving along on what it looks like. What you want to start out with is a pen and paper and a name of whatever it is or the person that you are wanting to let go of. All right. You don't need a full name. And it could be a person maybe that you don't know their name. You could give them a name. All right. Because you know who it is. You know the intention that is with this. So, the accuracy of the name is not important. Again, it's the intention that you're holding when you're doing this work. So you're going to write the name on the piece of paper, and then you're going to place it in a container, a jar, ice cube tray, whatever works for you, okay? Long time ago when I first started, I had the old-timey ice cube trays, and I would just pop people in there. Back then, when I first started out my spiritual practice, I had a lot of people in the freezer until Gwen got her stuff together. So that works. I've had people suggest that you can get little jars with lids. Those work well. I've used little Tupperware containers, without a lid, because what you're going to do is fill it with water. So whatever you use, make sure it's something that they can hold the water. And if you're worried about the water spilling, look for something with a lid. You can make it fun. Get a fun jar. Ceremonial. Again, it's yours. Make it yours. And sometimes when you do the paper in the water, the little boogers want to float around, okay? Sometimes they don't sink to the bottom. And sometimes what I'll do is I'll just kind of hold it in there till the paper gets wet enough to stay down. I'll put it in the freezer, wait, and make sure it stays down. But sometimes you can use a crystal, like just a little one, a little rose quartz maybe, because it has love and you're doing this with love. Obsidian. There's different crystals, have different aspects to them. So you could use a crystal in there or a paper clip to weigh it down. I think I'm going to stop here and kind of go back to the piece of paper. I recommend a piece of paper. Now, I do have a good friend, Sandra, who did hers with a photograph. Okay. She took the photograph of the person and she put it in the water. And she had some weird stuff going on where she checked in and the picture had raised up and it was peering over the top of the jar at her. She tried stuffing it back in, remelting it and everything. Um, I would steer away from pictures because that's, I don't know. I don't think I need a picture staring back at me. And you'll also see later on why a picture probably is a better thing to not work with. Stick with the paper with a name. So you're going to weight it down. You're going to put some water in there. And then we put it in the freezer. And that's all there is to it. You put it in the freezer and you don't talk about it. And you don't touch it. And you don't go back and visit with it in any way or form. All right. Because you are cutting the cord with it. So you can leave it in there for as long as it takes for you to not remember who it is anymore. Okay. Sometimes with the ice cube tray, I didn't know who was who anymore. And so I just kind of at some point just dumped the whole thing out. Now, if it's just a person, I'll pop them in. And, months later, my daughter will usually find it and she'll be like, "Who's this?" I'll be like, "I don't know." And that's usually the time to throw it out. Okay. So when you do not remember who it is or what it was anymore, you can dispose of it, throw it in the trash, flush it down the toilet. If you want to melt it and burn it, I guess you could do that. Whatever you feel you need to do. I just don't mind. I don't mess with it because I, again, don't want to ignite that connection again. So it's probably best not to open it and look to see who it was. When, if you're like, "Oh, I don't remember who this is. I think I'll take a look." No, no, just dispose of it and be done with it. Now, if you find that they're in there and they keep popping up in your life, you can repeat the ceremony, rewrite their name on a piece of paper, fold it up, put it back in the water, and put it, back in the freezer. Because chances are, if it's something like I mentioned earlier, if it's a relationship where you have a really strong, heavy cord with that person, a long invested connection, you may find it takes a while to really let go of that person. So they may keep showing up. And if that's the case, just repeat the intention that you want to let them go. And it's for the highest good of all involved. All right. And you can, I think I mentioned, make the ritual yours. So you can play with things like putting some sugar in there to make the person sweet. Sandra suggested tin foil so that they reflect back on themselves. She even mentioned playing with paper clips, pink. I would say pink because of love. You want to send that person love as you send them on their way. Or black. Black tends to be more of a protection color. So you could put black on there, a paper clip, and play around with different crystals. Obviously, if you're putting crystals in there, you might want to pull your crystals out and save them for another time. Or if you don't care, you can send the crystal off with the person that you're sending on their way. The idea here is to be positive, okay? This whole intention, the ritual, is not meant to be vengeful, okay? I don't recommend doing it from a place of fear, anger, or hate, okay? It's part of your spiritual practice, and your spiritual practice should be one of you coming to a good place, forgiveness if you need to, but from a place of love where you're just allowing that person to move on. Yeah, they might be a real turd, but they're your turd. You can let them go, all right? And send them on their way and wish them the best of everything. They just don't need to be in your life. So you are going to spend a little bit of time getting in a good place, saying bon voyage, putting them in the freezer and letting them go. And if you need to, I threw in on the end here, you could always call in Archangel Michael. Archangel Michael is who I work with for cord cutting. He's the angel with the sword. He loves to do this kind of work. He understands that, we can always use that little extra oomph when it comes to releasing people and things in our lives that no longer serve us.